I did not run away because I stopped loving Emma. I ran because that wedding was already cursed before it started. I still remember the way my heart was beating that morning as I sat inside the bus heading to nowhere, wearing the white gown I had sewn with my own hands. My phone kept vibrating, people calling, shouting, asking where I was. The driver kept glancing at me through the mirror, wondering if I was mad. Maybe I was. Maybe love had made me mad. But I knew if I didn't run, that wedding would destroy me. Before that day, everything looked perfect. Emma was the kind of man every woman prayed for. Hardworking, humble, full of jokes. The kind of man that would fix your bulb and still ask if you had eaten. We met when my sewing machine spoiled and he came to check the socket. From that day, he never stopped coming around, and little by little, my life started turning bright. When he finally proposed under the mango tree in his compound, the whole street shouted. I said yes because I believed in him. Even though he was struggling, I felt safe with him. But when the wedding talk started, everything changed. The pressure came like heavy rain. His friends said the wedding must be big, that he must show them he has arrived. People started asking what kind of cake we would do, how many cows he would kill. He laughed and said, "Leave it for me, Chioma. I go surprise them." But inside me, I was scared. I knew we didn't have the money. The small savings we had, he said one business swallowed it. I told him we could postpone the wedding or do it small, just family, but he refused. He said people had already printed aso ebi, that it would be shameful to cancel. Then he started borrowing money. Every day new people would knock, bringing envelopes, counting naira notes on our table. Mama Nkechi, that sells akara, even she gave him money. I asked him how he planned to pay. He smiled and said, "After the wedding, gifts go come." One night, when I was still cutting fabric for bridesmaids' dresses, a black Jeep parked outside our gate. It was Chief Dyke, Emma's main lender, a man everyone feared and respected. He said he came to drop the balance for the wedding cake. I didn't want to open the door, but he insisted. When he entered, his eyes were heavy, like he was seeing something he wanted to own. That night changed everything. That was the night I knew the wedding must never hold. When Chief Dyke entered our small sitting room that night, I felt my body freeze. The man carried power like perfume, thick and choking. He sat down on the only good chair we had, crossed his leg, and smiled as if he owned the whole world. He said Emma told him I was a lucky woman, that many girls wish they could marry a man as hard-working as him. I nodded, trying to be polite, even though my heart was beating fast. He dropped a brown envelope on the center table and said it was the last money Emma needed to balance the caterer in the hall. He told me to sit. I sat. The way he looked at me made my skin crawl. His voice became low, soft, almost like he was whispering something sweet, but what came out was poison. He said I should not forget that it was his money that would make the wedding happen. That after the wedding, when everyone had gone home, I should come and thank him properly. I didn't understand what he meant at first, but when his hand touched my knee, I knew. I jumped up and told him to leave. He laughed, stood, and whispered in my ear that Emma already knew the kind of thank you he wanted. After he left, I locked the door and cried until my head hurt. My mind couldn't rest. Did Emma really know? Could the man I loved have agreed to such shame? I told myself maybe Chief was lying. Maybe he wanted to test me. But something inside me refused to calm down. The next day, I asked Emma where the last payment for the hall came from. He said not to worry, that God had provided. I pressed him. He got angry and walked out. That was when I started noticing things. He avoided my eyes, he shouted easily, and he kept his phone away from me. When I asked if we could cancel or postpone the wedding, he said I was bringing bad luck. The day before the wedding, I went to deliver bridesmaids, dresses to one of my girls. On my way back, I saw Chief's car parked near Emma's workshop. They were talking outside. I hid behind a wall and watched. Chief touched Emma's shoulder, laughing, and Emma was just nodding. The kind of nod that says yes, but the heart is bleeding. My legs became weak. I knew something dark was happening, but I didn't have the proof. That night, I packed my white gown inside a small bag and kept it under my bed. I didn't sleep. I watched the clock until morning. I kept hearing Chief's voice in my ear, saying Emma already knew. Maybe he was lying. Maybe not. But I couldn't stand there like a fool and find out on my wedding night. When the first rooster crowed, I picked the bag, wore the gown, and walked out into the cold morning. I didn't even look back. The bus I entered that morning was half empty. People inside looked at me like a ghost. I didn't even know where the bus was going. I just wanted to move far away from that street, far away from everything. My white gown dragged on the floor, already brown with dust. One woman sitting close to me asked if I was running from an arranged marriage. I didn't answer. My throat was dry, my heart heavy. I just kept looking out through the window, watching Legos disappear. By the time I reached the park at Oshodi, my phone had already rung over 40 times. Emma, his best man, my friends, even my mother. I wanted to switch it off, but something made me open one message. It was from Emma. He said I was wicked. He said people were laughing at him, that I had destroyed his name. Reading it, tears rolled down my face. I wanted to reply, to explain, but my hands were shaking. How do you tell someone that you ran away to protect both of you? I went to a small hotel close to the park, begged the woman at the counter to give me a room for half payment. She looked at me with pity and agreed. Inside that small room, I removed the gown, folded it neatly, and placed it on the chair. That was when the sound of music and celebration started echoing in my head. The image of Emma standing at the altar, waiting for me, refused to leave my mind. I knelt on the floor and cried like a child. I kept asking God if I did the right thing. Evening came, and I turned on the small TV in the room. The local news showed clips of a wedding that scattered in a jigbo. The reporter said the bride disappeared on her wedding morning. My name was not mentioned, but I knew it was me. I saw the background of the hall, the canopies, the guests standing confused. My chest tightened. The next day, I used the little money I had to travel to my father's village in Imo State. The road was long, but I didn't care. When I got home, my stepmother almost fainted when she saw me. I told her I needed to rest and that no one should ask me questions. For days, I stayed inside, avoiding everyone. My phone never stopped ringing, and the messages changed from begging to insults. People called me heartless, proud, even cursed me. On the fourth day, a journalist called. He said he wanted to hear my side of the story before publishing more news about me. That was when I realized the story had spread far and wide. Everyone was talking, but no one knew the truth. I told the journalist to come, that it was time for people to hear why the wedding never held. The journalist came 2 days later, a tall man with tired eyes and a small recorder in his hand. He said his name was Ifeanyi, that he had heard many stories about me. Some said I ran away with another man. Others said I found out Emma had another wife. But the one people liked to repeat most was that I vanished because Emma was poor. I sat quietly and let him talk until he ran out of lies people told. Then I said, "You want to know the truth. I will tell you everything." I told him about the night Chief Dyke came to my house, about the words he said and the way his hand touched me. I told him about Emma's sudden change, about the meeting I saw between them. As I spoke, my voice started shaking. But the more I talked, the lighter I felt. Ifeanyi didn't interrupt. He just nodded and kept his recorder close to my mouth. When I finished, he sat for a long time, staring at the floor. Then he asked if I had any proof. I remembered the audio I recorded that night when Chief was still talking before I chased him out. I didn't plan to record him then. My phone was on the chair, and it captured everything by mistake. I brought it out and played it. The man's voice came clearly, laughing, saying those evil words. Ifeanyi's eyes widened. He said this was enough to shake the whole street. I didn't want fame or noise. I just wanted my name cleared. He promised to handle it carefully. Before he left, he asked one last question. Did I still love Emma? I didn't answer. I just looked at the wall until he packed his things and left. 2 days later, news started spreading again. This time, it was not gossip. The journalist had released the story with the recording. People who mocked me started calling to apologize. Women in the market were using my name to warn their daughters. Chief Dyke denied it at first, but the baker who saw him the night he came to my house confirmed it. Other women came forward too, saying he had tried the same thing with them. Emma called me that night. I picked the call, but we didn't talk immediately. He was breathing heavily, his voice shaking. He said he didn't know Chief would do such a thing, that he only borrowed money and never agreed to any dirty deal. I didn't know whether to believe him or not, but when he said he was sorry, something in me softened. He said he had lost everything, that even his workshop was gone because people dragged him for their money. I wanted to tell him I also lost everything, but the words refused to come out. After the call, I sat outside and watched the moon. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe without my chest burning. The truth was out. The world knew I didn't run because of shame or pride. I ran because I wanted to keep my soul clean. Months passed, and the noise slowly died down. People had moved on to new gossip, new stories, but my name still carried a small echo. Some called me the bride that ran for her dignity. Others called me the girl that disgraced her man. I had stopped trying to explain. I used the little money I saved to open a small sewing shop in the next town. Every morning, I would sweep the front, sit by the door, and stitch quietly while people walked by. Some recognized me from the story and would stop to greet me with pity in their eyes. I always smiled, but inside, I was tired of being remembered for pain. One afternoon, while I was sewing a school uniform for a little girl, I heard someone knock gently. When I looked up, my heart stopped. It was Emma. He looked thinner, older, his eyes darker but softer. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then he said he had looked for me everywhere. I didn't know what to say, so I told him to come in. He sat on the same bench where customers waited for fittings and kept rubbing his hands together. He told me life had humbled him. He had sold his workshop to pay some of his debts and was now working for someone else. He said the laughter that used to fill his street had died. He said whenever people mentioned my name, he would look down, not in shame, but in regret. He said he wished he had listened when I asked him to make the wedding small. I listened quietly. I could feel the honesty in his voice. There was no anger in me anymore, only a deep sadness that things had to end that way. He asked if I could forgive him, not to come back to him, but just so he could breathe freely again. I told him I already had. The look on his face changed, like a heavy stone had been lifted. He nodded slowly, stood up, and said he was proud of me. Before he left, he looked around the shop and smiled faintly. He said this was the kind of peace he had been looking for all his life. After he walked away, I stood at the door and watched him fade into the evening crowd. I didn't cry. I just felt calm, like the world had finally balanced itself. That night, I locked up my shop, sat by the small window, and thought about everything that happened. The love, the shame, the running, the truth. I realized the wedding never held, but maybe it wasn't meant to. Some unions are not built for celebration. They are built to teach us how to stand, how to choose ourselves, even when the world is watching. And for the first time in a long while, I whispered to myself that I was free.